Hello, and welcome to another episode of From QA Challenges to Innovation with PRIZ. I'm Dr. Thinkman, Chief Scientist at PRIZ Guru, where we help teams systematically solve problems and drive innovation.
And I'm Debra, Senior Business Consultant here at PRIZ Guru. Always a pleasure to join you, Dr. Thinkman.
Likewise, Debra, today we're exploring a topic that's revolutionizing manufacturing as we know it: the future of quality assurance in advanced manufacturing. We're examining how emerging technologies such as AI, automation, and Industry 4.0 are transforming the testing process, defect prevention, and quality management across the entire product lifecycle.
It's fascinating stuff. As someone who works with manufacturing clients every day, I've seen firsthand how quality assurance is undergoing this massive shift. And honestly, it's about time. The traditional methods of managing quality can't keep pace with today's production speeds and complexity.
Exactly. As Anu Kher of Oshkosh Corporation put it, we're in the most thrilling phase of technological evolution since the advent of the internet, with AI poised to augment every aspect of operations.
That's a bold statement, but I think it's accurate. So where should we start with this massive topic?
Let's begin with how AI and automation are revolutionizing quality assurance. This is really the foundation of everything else we'll talk about.
Perfect, lay it on me.
So traditionally, quality assurance relied heavily on human inspectors checking random samples from a production batch. But now we're seeing a complete paradigm shift with AI and machine vision systems that can inspect every single product with superhuman accuracy.
Right. And that consistent 100% inspection is a game changer. I remember visiting a BMW plant where they've deployed AI-driven image recognition to enhance their production quality control. The system catches subtle defects that even experienced human inspectors might miss.
That's a great example. And it's not just in automotive. In semiconductor manufacturing, AI computer vision spots microscopic defects in silicon wafers far beyond what the human eye can detect. We're talking about nanometer scale precision here.
Which is critical when you're making chips with features just a few nanometers wide. And it's worth pointing out that AI isn't just finding defects after they happen. It's actually preventing them in the first place.
Absolutely. Take Biko's appliance factory, where they use a machine learning control system to dynamically adjust sheet metal forming parameters. This reduced variation and cut material costs by 12.5%. Another decision tree model at the same site monitors sheet thickness and has cut a particular defect rate by 66%.
Those are impressive numbers. And what I find interesting is how manufacturers who adopt these AI automation approaches see growth rates that are 30% higher than those sticking with manual processes. That's a competitive advantage you can't ignore.
It really is. But finding defects in real time is only part of the picture. The next frontier is predicting and preventing defects before they even happen. That's where predictive analytics comes in.
This is where things get really exciting. Instead of just reacting to defects, we're now using data to anticipate and prevent them. How exactly does that work?
Modern manufacturing equipment has numerous sensors tracking variables like temperature, pressure, speed, vibration, humidity. You name it. AI-powered predictive analytics platforms analyze these data streams in real time and compare them to known patterns of normal versus faulty operation.
So if the system detects a drift toward conditions that previously led to defects, it can alert engineers to intervene before those defects occur. That's brilliant.
Exactly. Take Georgia Pacific's example. They used AI to monitor over 85,000 sensor readings on their production lines to detect impending equipment failures. This led to a 30% reduction in unplanned downtime by fixing issues before they caused a line stop.
And fewer unexpected breakdowns means a steadier process and fewer quality incidents. It's like preventive medicine, but for manufacturing.
That's a perfect analogy, and the results can be dramatic. In the chemical industry, Jubilant Ingrevia deployed digital twin models and AI across operations, managing process conditions to ensure quality and yield. This led to a 63% reduction in process variability and more than a 50% reduction in downtime.
Those are the kinds of numbers that get executives' attention. But I'm curious, Do different industries approach this differently? I imagine semiconductor manufacturing has different challenges than, say, metallurgy.
Great question. Let's look at emerging QA trends in three key sectors: semiconductors, chemicals, and metallurgy.
Let's start with semiconductors. That's where tolerances are incredibly tight, right?
Absolutely. In semiconductor QA, we're seeing a push toward zero defect manufacturing. When you're dealing with chip geometries at 5 nanometer or 3 nanometer scales, human inspections simply can't reliably detect defects. So AI-powered inspection systems that can detect nanometer scale flaws are now standard.
And I imagine the sheer volume of data in semiconductor manufacturing is enormous.
It is. Semiconductor fabs generate terabytes of data on each production lot. Advanced analytics find correlations in this data to pinpoint why one lot had lower yield than another. By adjusting processes based on these insights, manufacturers steadily improve yield and reduce defect rates.
I've heard Intel has been doing some fascinating work here.
Yes, Intel has applied machine learning to its yield analysis process. Using AI to analyze test data helped them identify root causes of yield loss much faster, supporting quicker fixes and fewer defective chips.
What about chemical manufacturing? That's a completely different animal since we're often dealing with continuous processes rather than discrete parts.
In chemical manufacturing, including pharmaceuticals and specialty chemicals, QA trends focus on real-time process monitoring, predictive quality control, and safety compliance. Unlike discrete manufacturing, chemical production is highly sensitive. Slight variations in temperature, ingredient quality, or reaction time can cause off-spec product or even hazardous situations.
So how is AI applied in that context?
One approach is using advanced sensing combined with AI analysis to constantly monitor product quality during production. Computer vision can inspect product appearance, color, clarity, and so on, and detect abnormalities instantly. These AI systems learn from past incidents to improve their accuracy over time.
I've seen something similar with AstraZeneca. They created digital twins of their processes, right?
Exactly. AstraZeneca used AI-driven process digital twins to optimize yield and quality while cutting manufacturing lead times from weeks to hours in certain cases. These virtual models simulate how changes in process settings affect product quality so they can optimize things like mixing time or temperature profiles.
And what about metallurgy? That's one of the oldest manufacturing disciplines, but I imagine it's being transformed as well.
Absolutely, in metals and advanced materials manufacturing, we're seeing extensive use of computer vision to detect surface and internal defects. High-powered cameras or imaging sensors feed into AI algorithms that can identify imperfections like cracks, porosity, inclusions, or uneven surfaces on metal parts.
I remember a case study about a steel manufacturer using AI for inspection of rolled steel sheets. The system could catch minute surface cracks or coating inconsistencies at high speeds that humans would easily miss.
Right. And another trend in metals QA is using predictive models for material performance. Epiroc, for example, built machine learning models that predicted steel hardness and flexibility, allowing them to fine-tune processes and ensure consistency across factories.
All these technologies and approaches sound wonderful, but implementing them must be challenging. How do QA managers actually drive this digital transformation in their organizations?
That's an excellent question, Debra. This is where we move from technology to leadership. Implementing advanced QA practices is as much a leadership and change management challenge as it is a technical one.
So we're talking about Quality 4.0, correct? The integration of Industry 4.0 technologies with traditional quality management?
Exactly. Quality 4.0 isn't just about buying new software. It requires QA leaders to steer cultural and process changes. They need to champion technology adoption by advocating for modern QMS platforms, automated inspection systems, and data analytics.
And building the business case for these investments must be critical, right?
Absolutely. Many successful QA leaders start by piloting a new technology on a small scale, demonstrating results, and then scaling up. They need to show how quality improvements translate into business outcomes like reduced returns or warranty costs.
I've also seen that QA managers are increasingly becoming data leaders, leveraging AI and analytics for proactive quality management.
Yes, this shift from reactive to predictive quality management is crucial. Some companies establish what's like a quality control tower that monitors key quality KPIs in real time across all production lines, much like a mission control center.
The integration aspect seems important too. Quality data doesn't exist in isolation.
That's right. Forward-thinking QA managers work to integrate quality data with other enterprise systems, connecting the QMS with manufacturing execution systems and product lifecycle management systems creates a digital thread from design to delivery.
And we can't forget the human element. The best technology won't help if your team doesn't know how to use it.
Absolutely. Driving digital transformation means investing in people. QA managers need to identify skill gaps in their teams and provide training. Many organizations now implement Quality 4.0 training programs, teaching basic AI principles, data literacy, and how to interpret dashboards.
This all sounds promising, but do we have concrete examples of companies that have successfully implemented AI-driven quality improvements?
We do. Let's look at a few case studies across different industries. Toyota, for instance, has been integrating AI into its manufacturing lines. By deploying AI-based visual inspection systems and automating more quality control, Toyota achieved a 30% reduction in defects on certain production lines.
That's impressive. And Toyota was already known for quality, so improving on that baseline is significant.
Exactly. Another example is Epiroc, the Swedish manufacturer of mining and construction equipment. They created an AI factory to centralize and analyze production data. Using machine learning, they developed models to predict properties like steel density, hardness, and flexibility based on process variables. This reduced customer rejections and product returns by 30%.
Those are remarkable results. I'm also interested in how all this affects the bottom line. How does smarter QA reduce costs?
That's a key question, because in the end, quality is directly linked to profitability. One major cost saving comes from early defect detection. When AI vision systems catch a flaw immediately at the station where it occurs, only that item needs rework or scrapping.
Versus finding it at final inspection, when you might have to scrap an entire assembly with much more value added. Makes sense.
Exactly. A study by Oliver Wyman found that deploying digital quality solutions can lower the cost of non-quality by 10 to 20% in many cases, and up to 50% with a full suite of Quality 4.0 measures.
And I imagine there are significant savings from preventing recalls and warranty claims too.
Huge savings. A recent survey showed 73% of manufacturing enterprises had a product recall in the last 5 years. Each recall can cost millions in logistics, replacement, legal fees, and regulatory fines. Smarter QA that prevents those defects has an enormous cost avoidance benefit.
Not to mention the brand damage that comes with recalls.
Absolutely. And there's also the yield and efficiency angle. By analyzing data and tightening control, yields go up, meaning more good product out for the same input. Higher yield effectively reduces cost per unit.
So better quality actually means better profitability. It's not a cost center, it's a profit driver.
Precisely. And that brings us to another important aspect, how Industry 4.0 is broadly impacting QA strategies.
This is where everything gets connected, right? Machines talking to each other, systems integrated, data flowing in real time.
Yes, in an Industry 4.0 environment, the smart factory, quality assurance becomes more integrated, continuous, and strategic. One hallmark is the availability of real-time data from equipment and processes via IoT sensors.
Which enables what you called earlier a quality control tower, a central dashboard where QA managers can monitor metrics from all production lines in real time.
Exactly. And Industry 4.0 also connects companies with their suppliers and customers. QA strategies are evolving to ensure quality across this entire value chain. Manufacturers share quality data with suppliers upstream, and might integrate customer usage data or field performance data into their quality system.
So quality doesn't end at the factory gate anymore?
Not at all. And with Industry 4.0's high level of automation, many routine QA checks can be automated. This means QA teams shift their focus to exception management and process improvement rather than ticking boxes on a checklist.
Which probably makes the job more interesting for quality professionals, too.
Definitely more strategic. And Industry 4.0 turns factories into data-generating powerhouses. Quality teams can tap into this big data for continuous improvement projects using Six Sigma or other methodologies, turbocharged by analytics.
I'm curious, how do quality teams keep up with regulations in this fast-changing environment? Compliance has always been a big part of QA's responsibility.
That's a critical question. Regulations in manufacturing are continually evolving, whether it's safety regulations, environmental compliance, data security standards, or industry-specific quality guidelines.
And traditional methods of managing compliance, binders of procedures, manual checklists, seem too slow for today's pace.
They are. QA organizations are turning to digital compliance tools. Modern QMS software often includes modules for regulatory requirements and change control. When a new regulation is issued, it can be input into the system, which then helps map which processes or documents need updating.
And I've heard some companies are even using AI to monitor regulatory changes.
Yes, it's an emerging trend. Some companies subscribe to services that use AI to scan government publications, industry bodies, and so on for changes that could affect them. In regulated industries, we're seeing compliance as code approaches, where regulatory requirements are treated like code that can be checked against systems.
That must be especially valuable in highly regulated industries like pharmaceuticals.
Absolutely. And another strategy is embedding compliance in processes. If a regulation says you must keep records of a certain test for 5 years, a digital system can ensure records are archived automatically for that duration.
So the system inherently enforces compliance, rather than relying on people to remember all the rules.
Exactly. Compliance by design reduces the need for after-the-fact fixes. And staying ahead of regulations can be a competitive advantage. It avoids production stoppages for recertification or audit findings and builds trust with customers and regulators.
All this technology is great, but I'm also interested in how organizations are bridging the gap between R&D and QA. Traditionally, these have been pretty separate domains, right?
They have been, and that siloed approach can lead to disconnects. Products that are hard to manufacture within spec or quality criteria that don't consider real-world usage. The future points to much closer collaboration.
So how do companies achieve that collaboration?
One key strategy is involving QA professionals from the earliest stages of R&D. When a new product or process is being designed, QA can provide input on potential risks, necessary controls, and compliance requirements. This prevents scenarios where R&D hands over a design that QA then finds issues with.
Which must lead to costly late changes and delays.
Exactly. Many companies now form cross-functional development teams that include a QA representative. In pharmaceutical development, this is formalized as Quality by Design, QBD, where critical quality attributes and control strategies are defined during development, not after.
And I imagine data connectivity plays a role here too?
It's crucial. By creating a digital thread that links design data, manufacturing data, and field performance data, you enable continuous feedback. Historically, field failure data or manufacturing yield data seldom made it back to design engineers in a timely manner.
So if a product fails in the field, all the data about its production and design specs can be analyzed to identify why, and R&D can quickly work on a fix.
That's exactly right. This closed-loop feedback system is essentially learning from quality outcomes to inform design. Some companies also use unified PLM software that spans from requirements to design to quality management, creating a single source of truth.
With all these changes, I imagine the skill set for QA professionals is evolving too. What skills will QA leaders need in the next decade?
That's a great final topic. The next decade will require QA leaders to be technically savvy, data-driven, and highly adaptable, while also excelling in traditional leadership and quality management competencies.
So, what specific skills should quality professionals be developing?
First, data analytics and data-driven decision-making. QA leaders need to be comfortable with data, not just collecting it, but analyzing it and drawing insights. They should be able to work with analytics tools, interpret control charts and AI model outputs, and make decisions based on data evidence.
That makes sense. What about technical skills related to all the new technologies we've discussed?
AI and technology literacy is definitely crucial. With AI, automation, and software becoming ingrained in QA processes, future QA leaders should have a solid understanding of these technologies. They don't need to code algorithms, but they should know, for instance, how a machine learning model might flag anomalies.
Leadership skills must be important too, especially with all this change management.
Absolutely. Quality managers must be effective in leading interdisciplinary teams, communicating vision, and managing resistance to change. They should cultivate a culture that embraces new methods and continuous improvement.
And I would think collaboration skills are more important than ever. QA interfaces with so many departments.
Definitely. QA is increasingly a hub function that interacts with R&D, operations, IT, suppliers, and customers. QA leaders need top-notch communication skills, being able to speak the language of engineers, data scientists, and business executives alike.
What about the more traditional quality skills? Do those still matter?
They absolutely do. Classic statistical quality control isn't going away. If anything, it's used in more complex ways now. A solid grasp of statistics, control charts, capability analysis, design of experiments. These remain essential. The difference is they're now applied to much larger datasets, and often in real time.
It sounds like QA leaders need to be Renaissance people, technically savvy, data fluent, great communicators, and strong leaders.
That's a good way to put it. And I'd add that perhaps the most fundamental skill is a mindset of continuous learning. The field is changing so rapidly that QA leaders should stay abreast of emerging best practices, be willing to learn new software, and adapt processes accordingly.
Well, this has been an incredible overview of the future of QA in advanced manufacturing. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts for our listeners?
I think the key takeaway is that quality assurance is undergoing a transformation from a reactive, inspection-based function to a proactive, predictive, and strategic business driver. Technologies like AI, automation, and connectivity are enabling QA to prevent defects before they occur, optimize processes, and ensure consistent quality at lower cost.
And companies that embrace these changes are seeing real benefits. Fewer defects, lower costs, higher customer satisfaction, and competitive advantage.
Exactly. Okay, so whether you're a QA professional, a manufacturing engineer, or a C-suite executive, investing in these new approaches to quality isn't just about keeping up. It's about leading the way in your industry.
Wonderful insights, as always, Dr. Thinkman. And for those listeners who are facing complex problems in manufacturing or any other domain, remember that PRIZ Guru offers tools and methodologies to help teams systematically solve problems and drive innovation.
That's right. Thank you, Debra, for another great conversation. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to From QA Challenges to Innovation with PRIZ. Until next time, keep innovating.
Thanks, everyone, and see you next time.